I stood in the doorway of the party venue, uninvited and unannounced. Across the room, my husband had his arm draped around another woman's shoulders, laughing like he didn't have a care in the world. He looked up, saw me. His face went white. Someone nearby asked, "Who's that?" He hesitated, just for a second. "Just my wife." The word "just" landed like a slap. What he didn't know was that I'd already made my decision before I walked through that door. My name's Victoria. I'm 31 years old. I teach second grade at an elementary school across town. Nothing glamorous. Nothing that turns heads at dinner parties. For 6 years I was married to my college sweetheart. I thought we were solid. I thought we had the kind of love people write songs about. I was practical, steady, loyal. He was charming, social. The kind of guy who could light up a room just by walking into it. For a long time, that balance worked. But about a year ago, he started a new job. Sales, high energy, lots of after-work events, a culture that revolved around drinks and networking and proving you were one of the guys. He started staying out late, coming home smelling like whiskey and expensive cologne I didn't buy him. When I asked where he'd been, he'd roll his eyes and say I was nagging. When I said I missed him, he'd say I was clingy. The party, the one that ended everything, was hosted by a coworker I'd never met. He got the invitation on a Wednesday and didn't even tell me about it until Friday morning. Something about it felt wrong. I asked him not to go. He laughed in my face. "You don't own me, Victoria. Grow up." I gave him a clear ultimatum that morning. I looked him in the eyes and said, "Go to this party, and our marriage is over." He smirked, grabbed his keys, walked out. I thought I'd feel broken, but instead, I felt something colder. Clarity. Have you ever been dismissed by the one person who promised to stand by you? Comment below. I need to know I'm not alone. The morning of the party, I tried one final calm conversation. He was in the bathroom, getting ready. I could smell the cologne from the hallway, something new, something expensive. He was wearing a shirt I'd never seen before. Dark blue, fitted. I leaned against the doorframe. Why is this party more important than us? He didn't even look at me, just kept fixing his collar in the mirror. It's networking. Not everyone wants to spend Friday nights watching Netflix in sweatpants. I felt the sting, but kept my voice steady. I'm serious. If you go tonight, I'm done. He stopped, turned around, and then he laughed. Threw his head back and laughed like I'd just told the funniest joke he'd ever heard. "You're being dramatic. This is why nobody likes hanging out with us anymore." I corrected him quietly. "Us? Or me?" He didn't answer, just grabbed his keys off the counter and headed for the door. "I'll be back late. Don't wait up." The door slammed. I stood frozen in the hallway, staring at the space where he'd been. My hands were shaking, and then I saw it, his iPad, still sitting on the kitchen counter. He'd forgotten it in his rush. A notification lit up the screen, a group chat with his friends. I knew I shouldn't look. I knew it, but something in my gut told me I needed to. I opened it. The first message made my stomach drop. "Victoria coming tonight?" My husband's response, "Hell no, she'd kill the whole vibe." Another friend chimed in, "Bro, how do you even deal with her?" My husband, "Not for much longer if she keeps this up." I scrolled up. The messages went back weeks, months even. He'd been talking about me like this for months. "Victoria won't let me do anything. She's gotten so boring since we got married. I feel trapped, man." One of his friends joked, "Maybe it's time to test the waters elsewhere." My husband's response, "You might be onto something." I felt physically ill, but I didn't stop reading. I couldn't. My hands shook as I took screenshots of every conversation, every insult, every lie he'd told about me to make himself look like the victim. This wasn't about one party anymore. This was betrayal that ran months deep. I kept scrolling, my chest tight, my eyes burning. The messages painted a picture I didn't recognize. In his version of our marriage, I was controlling, boring, suffocating. In his version, he was the poor guy just trying to have a little fun. Victoria won't let me do anything. That one kept showing up, but I'd never stopped him from doing anything. I'd asked him to spend time with me, to remember we were married, to stop treating me like an inconvenience. She's gotten so boring since we got married. I scrolled faster, my breath coming in short bursts. I feel trapped, man. I stopped on that one. Trapped. He felt trapped. By me. By our marriage. By the life we'd built together. And then I saw the message from his friend, the one that made everything click into place. Maybe it's time to test the waters elsewhere. My husband's response wasn't a joke, wasn't a brush off. You might be onto something. I screenshotted it. Then I kept going. While I was scrolling, a banking app notification popped up on his iPad. I hesitated. This felt like crossing a line. But hadn't he already crossed every line that mattered? I opened it. Our joint checking account appeared first. Normal transactions, groceries, gas, utilities. But then I saw the transfers. Small ones at first, $400 here, $600 there, all going to an account I didn't recognize. I clicked on it. It was his, a separate account, one he'd opened without telling me. I scrolled through the transaction history, my heart pounding. Over the last 3 months, he'd moved over $8,000. $8,000. Meanwhile, he'd been charging work dinners and team drinks to our joint account. The account I contributed to. The account I'd been carefully managing. I'd been skipping lunches at work to save money. I'd been putting aside every spare dollar for the vacation fund he kept saying we couldn't afford yet. And he'd been draining our money into a secret account. The betrayal wasn't just emotional anymore. It was financial. I downloaded the bank statements, created a folder on my laptop, labeled it Evidence. Around 10 that night, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello? Hi, is this Victoria? A woman's voice. Young, nervous. Yes. Who's this? I'm Jenna. I work with your husband. I'm at the party and I think you should know something. My stomach dropped. Okay. I don't know you, but I'm uncomfortable. Your husband has been all over another woman all night. They haven't crossed a line yet. But the way he's talking about you to people here. She trailed off. I have a husband too, she said quietly. I'd want someone to tell me. I closed my eyes. Thank you. I'm sorry, she whispered. I hung up, walked to the bathroom, stared at myself in the mirror. For the first time in months, I didn't cry. I felt cold, calm, resolute. I didn't call him, didn't text. I went back to my laptop and opened the folder I'd started. Screenshots, bank records, dates, receipts. I built a file, organized, methodical. As I worked, I started seeing the pattern I'd been ignoring for over a year. The comments about my weight, my boring job, the forgotten anniversaries, the way he'd stopped asking about my day, the way he'd stopped looking at me like I mattered. I'd been fighting alone to save a marriage he'd already checked out of. I walked to our home office and opened the file cabinet, pulled out the folder with our mortgage papers and property documents. I stared at the deed for a long moment. What he didn't know, what he'd never bothered to ask about, was that the house was in my name only. My parents had helped with the down payment. They'd insisted on protecting my asset. I'd told him it was easier for taxes. He'd never questioned it. I also had a private savings account he didn't know about. When my grandmother passed 2 years ago, she left me $30,000. Something in my gut told me not to mention it. I'd felt guilty at the time, like I was keeping secrets. Now I felt grateful for that instinct. I also remembered meeting my best friend Sarah's brother at a barbecue last summer, David. He was a divorce attorney. He'd handed me his card casually, just making conversation. Just in case you ever need anything, he'd said with a kind smile.
I'd laughed it off. The card was still in my wallet. I pulled it out now, ran my thumb over the embossed letters. What he didn't know was that I wasn't the weak, dependent woman he'd turned me into in his mind. I had options. I'd always had options. I just never thought I'd need them. At 11 that night, I
texted Sarah. You awake? I need your brother's number. My phone rang 10 seconds later. What did he do? I told her everything. The party, the messages, the secret account. Jenna's call. Sarah was furious. I never liked him, Vic. You know that. I know. You deserve so much better than this. She sent me David's contact info. Call him Monday. And Victoria, stay strong. You deserve so much better than this. My husband stumbled in at 3 in the morning. I heard the door slam, heard him trip over something in the hallway. I stayed in the guest room, door locked. The next morning he slept until noon. When he finally emerged, I was sitting at the kitchen table with my coffee, my face calm. Good time? I asked. My voice was neutral. He grunted, poured himself coffee. It was fine. You were being ridiculous, by the way. Was I? Yeah. It was just a party, Victoria. Stop being so insecure. No apology, no acknowledgement. He acted like nothing had happened. Over the weekend, he was dismissive, even cruel. On Sunday, his brother came over to watch the game. My husband made a joke about my controlling tendencies right in front of him. I didn't react, just smiled and brought them snacks. But inside, I was building a wall. Monday, I met David during my lunch break. He was professional, kind, direct. I showed him everything. The screenshots, the bank records, the texts. He reviewed it all carefully. You're in a very strong position here, he said. I nodded. I don't want to destroy him. I just want out. David looked at me for a long moment. That's your choice, but don't let him walk all over you on the way out the door. The papers were drawn up by Wednesday. At home, my husband grew more arrogant. He started talking about his house, his investments. On Thursday, he mentioned buying a new car. I've earned it, he said, scrolling through listings on his phone. I stayed quiet, watching, waiting. He had no idea what was coming. Exactly 1 week after the original party, it was Friday night again. My husband came downstairs, freshly showered, dressed up. Heading out again tonight. Another work thing. I was on the couch, book in my lap. Actually, can we talk first? He sighed, dramatic, annoyed. What now, Victoria? Sit down. Something in my voice stopped him. He sat, wary. I slid a manila folder across the coffee table. What's this? Divorce papers. His face went blank. Then he laughed. Sharp, disbelieving. Very funny. I'm not joking. The laugh died in his throat. What? Because of last week? You're insane. Open the folder. He did. His eyes scanned the first page, then the second. You can't be serious. I told you exactly what would happen. You laughed at me. People don't end marriages over one party. You're right. They end them over disrespect, lying, financial betrayal. I slid my phone across the table, screenshots of the group chat glowing on the screen. His face drained of color. You went through my stuff? You left your iPad open. I'm glad I looked. Those messages are just guy talk. They don't mean anything. You called me boring, controlling, said you felt trapped. I was venting. You moved over $8,000 into a secret account. Silence. His jaw tightened. What was that for? An exit fund or just something else to lie about? That's my money. I earned it. We're married. It's our money. Or it was. He changed tactics. His voice softened. His eyes pleaded. Baby, come on. We can work through this. I'll delete the group chat. I'll move the money back. It's too late. Victoria, please. I love you. I almost laughed. Do you? Because Jenna from your office called me, told me how you were acting at that party. His eyes went wide. Nothing happened. I don't care if it did or didn't. You humiliated me. You disrespected our marriage. You chose a party over me. So where am I supposed to go? Not my problem anymore. This is my house too. I smiled. Cold, certain. No, it's not. The house is in my name. Only mine. He stared at me like I was a stranger. You have 2 weeks to find somewhere else. My attorney will contact you about splitting the rest. You already have an attorney. Did you think I was bluffing when I said I was done? He stood abruptly, his face red. Fine, fine. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. I met his eyes, my voice steady. No, marrying you was the mistake. This is me fixing it. He grabbed his jacket, slammed the door on his way out. I sat in the silence. This time I didn't flinch. This time the silence felt like peace. 2 weeks later he was gone. Took his clothes, his cologne, his entitlement. I changed the locks the same day. The house felt lighter, bigger, like it was breathing again. My friends rallied around me. I realized how many relationships I'd let fade during the marriage. He isolated you, Sarah said gently. I nodded. I was starting to see the whole picture now. The divorce moved quickly. He tried to fight for the house, but he had no legal ground. Tried to claim I'd hidden assets. My attorney shut it down with documentation. His lawyer advised him to settle. 3 months later, it was finalized. I kept the house, my savings, and most importantly, my peace. He sent one last text. Hope you're happy now, I almost replied. Then I deleted the thread entirely. He didn't deserve my words anymore. I looked around my living room. New plants thriving on the windowsill. My book club meets here every Thursday now. I've even gone on a couple dates. Nothing serious, but it feels good to be seen. Valued. The woman who sat on this couch reading those cruel messages feels like a stranger now. I'm stronger, not because I left, but because I chose myself. For the first time in years, his silence didn't hurt me. It freed me. If this story hit home for you, please subscribe. This channel is for everyone who's been underestimated and came out stronger. Have you ever had to walk away from someone who didn't value you? Share your story in the comments below. And if you're in that moment right now, wondering if you're strong enough to leave, you are. I promise you are. Tell me where you're watching from. I read every single comment and I want to hear from you. Your story matters. And this community is here to support you. Hit like if you believe in choosing yourself, always. I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong.